My name is Eric Basir, and I am a photo retoucher and also an instructor of photo retouching. And I have been given the privilege by Ms. Durgitz and the library and everyone to come here and speak to you about photo restoration from start to finish. So my goal is to take one or more pictures and go through the restoration process with them. Because we have so many interesting ones, I don't always get to restore the entire photo, but I can show what it would be like to go through the process with it and offer advice for you. Let me get to know what you are dealing with. Raise your hand if you have a computer. Everybody, great. 10 years ago, there were quite a few hands that didn't go up. It had nothing to do with age. And how many of you have a flatbed scanner, something like this, a box with glass in the middle? Okay. And how many of you don't have a scanner? Okay. So next, or the week after next, we'll be focusing entirely on scanning. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on what I'm doing with this thing today. That'll be the week after. And that one, I consider that a little intermediate, but it's beginner as well. If there's anything that goes over your head, we're a small group, please raise your hand. And I will get to you right away. How many of you use something called Adobe Photoshop to work on your pictures? Okay. And how many of you know that you use something called Adobe Photoshop Elements? Sometimes we mix it up with Photoshop, but Photoshop is the more expensive one. That's how you know the difference. And how many use something else completely different? Yes, sir. What do you use?
I'm just using the standard Windows.
Picture it, or
yeah.
Microsoft Picture it? Okay, so.
Yeah, I used to have Adobe, I used to have Photoshop on another computer.
Yeah.
But since I bought my laptop, I had to replace it.
Right.
I'm thinking of getting Elements, but I'm not real sure to go.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, get it. Don't, unless you plan on working full-time as a photo retoucher, which this industry is dead in America. I'm like, I've worked with so many retouchers over the years. They're all out of work. Okay, so you understand running a photo lab. Okay, yeah, wow. So I would recommend getting Elements, really. It's just unless you really just want to spend a whole lot of time doing all kinds of stuff, including 3D and video and animation, you don't need the $600 Photoshop or whatever that is, whatever it costs right now. I'm going to jump right in, and I want to go over the handout briefly. This handout is really not so much an outline for us tonight as it is information for you to keep and to ponder when you're dealing with your photos. There's some vocabulary that we'll cover. You'll hear the phrase, and you've seen it, archival. And I put quality in brackets right after that. And the reason why is because archival is kind of a nebulous term. So I put quality as in, okay, you can expect it to last a certain period of time if it's archival. And generally, that's accepted between 50 and 100 years. PVC, polyvinyl chloride. You want anything you store your pictures in, definitely you want it PVC free. Polyvinyl chloride, it's a petroleum product. Lignin, impure organic matter found in wood. So guess what? All your photos that you just showed me today are printed on what? Yep, probably lignin paper, okay? And as you notice, they're all brown, and we all tend to think, that must be sepia tone. It's not. I don't think any of these are sepia tone. Maybe, no, I don't even think this one. because it's yellow. Sepia tone is a nice brown, almost a brown like the faux wood back there with the clothes hangers. Okay, that's sepia. Yellow is old. It's decaying. We have CDRs, we got CDRWs, we have DVD-R, DVD-RW, DVD, CDR plus RW slash R2, blah, blah, blah. These are known as optical media. These are CD, DVD discs. And these are great ways to archive the photos that you scan. The reason why they're nice is because they're optical, and that is there's no magnetic particles that could be jumbled on them if they go through an X-ray machine or get close to something that's magnetized, a speaker or a wristwatch, whatever. As long as they're kept out of sunlight in 50% humidity. But it gets tricky when you're dealing with what type of optical media. So circle these two. Circle CDR, that's number 4. And circle DVD-R. These are more stable. The media that these are on are stable. Now CDR, for CDs, they're kind of outdated. Does anyone have any blank CDs that they use? You're using DVDs, right? So DVD-R, I have found, is more stable. I found less complaints online for people that are saving images on DVD, okay, with DVD-R. The problem with RW, that means rewritable, is that media is it is less stable, okay? If it's gonna fail, if you're gonna lose something, it's more likely gonna happen on an RW, a rewritable, okay? Rewritable is nice for transferring things or temporarily burning for a movie that you want to watch, family movie or something, but it is not archival. I don't recommend anyone archiving their family photos on a rewritable optical media. The R2 means dual layer, and that's big, and then there's Blu-ray now, which I don't have on there. I have not found anything regarding archival quality for dual layer in Blu-ray. Has anyone tried saving their images to Blu-ray, burning them with a Yeah, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, here's something real big, and I got, they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So here's what I want you all to avoid when it comes to storing your photos and documents. Containers and albums not labeled archival. Materials that contain lignin. PVC materials. Now remember, there's plastic, but there's PVC plastic. PVC-free plastics, okay? That's safer. Don't just get some Ziploc bag and stick your photos in it for any long period of time. Moisture, adverse temperatures. So I go from hot to cold. Humidity. Light. And when I say light, I really should say sunlight. Sunlight. Sunlight is very powerful. If you have any pictures right now in your house that get any amount of sunlight on them, they will fade. I don't care what you spray on it, what kind of spell you put on it, it will fade. Okay? The sun is very powerful. It's so powerful it makes your body produce vitamin D. It's so powerful. I mean, that's powerful stuff. So I want you, if you have any pictures like that, if you want to display pictures where they are but they're in sunlight, then make a copy of the picture and display the copy and put the original in a safe place. I have all our family photos in the hallway where there's no sunlight. Maybe a little bit comes in through the morning if someone leaves the bathroom door open. Magnetic materials, dirt, pressure-sensitive adhesives, rubber cement, paper clips, rubber bands, and writing on originals, and here's where I get in trouble. If you have to write on the original, I'm not going to argue with people's reasons, because we all have good reasons for everything we do, right? So here is our print, right? So if I have to write on this, most people will write on the back, right? Right in the area on the back where the faces are not located. Or down here, maybe where the arms are or something like that, okay? If you have to do that. And again, I always say, well, make a copy and write on the copy. And I'll never forget one customer, he had in his photo album, he had the group picture on one side and a copy of the group picture on the other side, and he wrote on the copy who is who. So that's something to think about. So when you're, any questions on anything I just said? Okay, so we're going to get started now with the work. Scanning. Obviously, yes sir, yes.
If you do have to write on something, okay, is there any preferable, you know, like ballpoint or pencil or?
Pencil, you said it. The problem though, does apply pressure. Okay, so you will be indenting it. Like I keep a pencil on the table with me to write with because I don't want to, with the pen, accidentally write in one of your pictures. The pencil, it's not going to really show. It's not really going to show. And if I do get it on something, it's very easy to erase. But there are archival inks, okay? But they tend to be more like mini markers, so they might bleed through. All right, so it's, you know, you got to find a medium, and I know how you feel. But I definitely keep a pencil handy, and like sometimes you'll have, like for example, we have here a photo in this paper frame. Oh, thank you. In this paper frame, thank you. His cardboard paper frame. You know, this would be a perfect specimen on which for me to demonstrate my writing. No, but you would, if you had to write, you could write on the back of it up in the corner or something like that, and it'll show, and it won't make a stain. You know, that kind of thing. And the pencil will last pretty long time.
Although there's ink on the back of that picture.
There is. Yes. Wow. Wow. Well, it hasn't come through yet. So when we're scanning, we obviously want a nice clean surface. And let me actually wake up the scanner, because sometimes this thing is just, oh, it can't connect with my scanner. Yeah. Let me try again. This always happens, but when we scan, we want to make sure the surface is clean. Anybody have a method for cleaning a scanner surface that they'd like to share with the group?
A soft cloth.
A soft cloth?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, soft cloth, something with not...
My eyeglasses, I use that.
The eyeglass cleaner? Okay.
The cloth.
And you spray it on the cloth?
No, I just wipe it with the cloth.
You spray it on the glass, then you wipe?
I don't spray at all. I just use the cloth.
Oh, the cloth for the glasses, there's no... I got you. I got you.
I don't know what it's called.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. So if you do use a glass cleaner, okay, if you do use a glass cleaner, I recommend you spray on the cloth, okay? And then you wipe. So sometimes the spray will get in the nooks inside here, okay?
Any glass cleaners you should avoid if they have ammonia or not ammonia?
No.
Okay.
Ammonia-based is what I use.
Okay.
And I scan all kinds of stuff. You know, I make crayon drawings and things like that, and I stick it on it. I need something to help me get that stuff off the surface. And of course, dry it thoroughly before you stick the photo on there. Let's see. I think it has it now. Okay, so let's go over here. I want to talk about this real quick. This is a picture in a glass frame. It has glass, then the photo, then the back of the frame. What is wrong with this? Having it this way. Anyone?
First of all, it's not going to be on the surface of the scanner. You've got a gap there.
I'm not talking about scanning yet. I'm going back to prevention real quick. I just wanted to.
Maybe you can type of glass you use.
You never want the picture to be
Touching
the glass. You may think, oh, my house is immaculate. You get one little piece of humidity, something happens, and it sticks. And I've dealt with that many, many, many times. And it gets, and then what happens is they're cleaning something and then the elbow hits it, it cracks. So it's cracked and stuck to the glass. Okay? And then you got to deal with problems getting it off. All right? So I just wanted to share that with you. Always use a mat board or something if you can. All right? But again, if you don't want to do that, again, just display a copy, not the original. Because I got pictures stuck in frames touching the surface, but they're copies, so I don't care. So let's just do what I would consider a kind of basic, an average photo. So and when I say turn off filters, we'll get into that more in the week after next. Scan big. All these tips here are really good to keep in mind. You don't want to scan small and then try to enlarge the picture. That's the point.
When you say scan big, you're talking about pixels?
Pixels and or dimension. And I'll show you right here. I'm going to do a quick, I'm telling Epson, okay, I want you to scan this area, and you'll see the document size is over here. See that?
Yeah.
But look at this, though. This is what I always want you to scan in. This is what I say in the handout. Minimum 300 DPI or PPI, okay? It's actually PPI, not DPI. Pixels per inch, not dots per inch. And then I like to always enlarge it a little bit, especially for demonstration purposes, to 150%. So now the finished size is going to actually end up 5:7. However, I'm going to put it back to 100 because I just want to show you the most important part, and that is to make sure that you scan in at 300. Now the other part that I mentioned is file format. I say in number 4 for scan it. Number 4, I say save as TIFF or native format, never JPEG or PDF. Okay, if you can do a JPEG or PDF, well, do that after you scan and save the TIFF, okay, as a copy. And the reason being, these formats are what you call lossy or compression. And what happens is these formats average out the various pixels and all kinds of technical things to make the picture small so it can be sent through the internet or shared quickly. TIFF, on the other hand, or the native format, the Photoshop format, the GIMP format, the PaintShop Pro format, the Picture It format maybe, these will not compress the file. Files will generally be larger, not that much. Compared to nowadays, hard drive space is very inexpensive. So, and the average computer gives you lots of space. Save it as TIFF. Now with my Epson scanner, which is a highly recommended format brand, but we'll get into that the week after, is with Epson, I like their controls, and I'm just checking, making sure everything is off that should be off. I make sure none of these filters are on. I don't want it doing any cut. I don't want it doing anything fancy for me. All right. Very good. And I'm set. Now I'm going to go to scan. And when I go in here, I'm going to Elk Grove Village Public Library. It's letting me actually enter in the file name prefix. And the start number is 001. And I'm going to put that right here so I can keep track. And the file format is TIFF, tagged image file format. That's what that means. It really won't help you to know that. But TIFF is the way to go. All right? And you can do compression and all that. Windows, it's fine, it's fine. Main thing is TIFF. Now I'm going to make a folder in which to save it. And what's so cool about this, Elk Grove Village Public Library, what's so cool about this is now, for tonight, every scan I do, I won't have to do all that typing. It will just change the number. See, it says 001, so the next one I do will be 002, automatically. And I hit OK. And it's going to scan it. All right, and while it's scanning, I will take a question if you have it. Yes, sir?
If you've got a picture that's already in a JPEG format,
Yes.
does it make any sense to save it in a better format, like a bitmap or TIFF?
Oh yeah, bitmap 2 is acceptable. It's a Windows, standard Windows format. Mac can open it too. BMP. Not bitmap mode. That's a color mode. That's just black and white. That's like a copy, a photocopy. I'm talking about the file format. BMP is okay too. You already have a bunch of scans as JPEGs. If it's a whole lot and it's a hassle, it's not going to make any difference. They've already been scanned and compressed. So unless you're going to work on them, no need. If you're going to work on them, you do have to save as TIFF. Because every time you open the JPEG, you work on it, save it, close it, it compresses it again. Open it again, work on it, save it, close it, it compresses it again. And over time, the quality will degrade. The skies will start to look blocky. You may see what looks like gummy appearance on edges of faces and buildings. So yeah, only if you want to work on it.
Yeah, I typically save in bitmap or RAW, but I always wondered if something is already in JPEG.
Yeah, you're okay.
There's an advantage to save it.
I would recommend from now on though, please don't save as. No, you're not. You're doing is bitmap. Yes.
I just have a quick MacBook question. It seems like you're pressing one of the keys and your display is enlarging on the screen. Is there a particular?
Oh yeah. Okay, so what I did.
MacBook, and I just didn't know.
Now this is off topic. How dare you? How dare you take us off topic? I'll show him real quick. Excuse me. I'm just going to indulge him real quick. You have to go to System Preferences, and then you have to go to Universal Access. Then you have to click on what's called Zoom. And then it tells you the commands to zoom in and out. Got it? And if you don't remember that, send me an email or give me a call. Got my info right there. See? No problem. Now we're back to the program. That's a little advertisement. Okay. So I always say duplicate the background layer. What's that? Well, every time you open a photo in Photoshop, Photoshop Elements, GIMP and PaintShop Pro, you get a layer palette. There's always one layer. It's called the background layer. Every image is itself a layer. I like to duplicate that background layer. So I go to Layer, Duplicate. And this is in your handout. And then I save it with a slightly different name. So this one says 001, original. Now I'm going to give it a R1, which is short to me for revision 1. Because I want to keep my original. I want to keep my original. I don't want to work on my original. I want it to stay as is in case I really mess up. And I'm going to save in my native Photoshop format. And it may ask you, do you want to maximize compatibility? Yes, you should. Because that way, in case you do archive this through a database program such as Extensis Portfolio, or you give it to a professional, you know, you share it or pass on your inheritance or something, or your family archives, your family archives, any database can read it, okay? Almost any database. Now we have our background copy here, and here's why I say that. Let's say I accidentally, with this paintbrush, do this streak right here. You can see that, right? And while I'm working up, and I'm like working, and I'm doing all this great work, and then all of a sudden I say, oops. So if you turn off the background layer, you can go back. You'll have something to go back to and copy and put it back in. Or it's just a good work. It's just like, look, if you're going to go out and cut your hedges, put goggles on your eyes. I mean, why should I do that? Well, a branch might fly into your eye while you're cutting the hedges. Oh, that never happens to me. Okay, well, I'm just telling you, this is just a safety principle. You don't have to do it. All right, here we go. Now, I recommend the first thing you clean up in something like this is the minor scratches and the spotting. Little dust spots, little scratches, okay? There are exceptions, but this one is not the exception. So what I'll do is in Photoshop, I think it's 7 and up, they have something called 6 and up, which is like quite a few years ago now. So pretty much any version of Photoshop nowadays that you can find will have something called the healing brush. And this is real nice because you go in real quick and you heal your picture. And so I have my mouse pointer, you see that circle? And I hold down my Alt or Option key, and I click next to that spot in an area that's similar to that spot. And then when I go over it, it disappears. See? Before, after. See that little spot?
Is that like a stamp?
Yes. In fact, when I teach, like in my course, I don't even teach the healing brush. I teach the clone stamp. Okay? I'm trying to experiment with giving people the latest thing. But clone stamp is the best way, in my opinion, to have the most control. Because the problem is with healing brush is, watch, in an area like, let's say, this right here. This is where the emulsion is actually falling apart, disintegrating from the paper. So let's say I do that. Watch what I do with the healing brush. Okay. So I go like this. You see a little bit of a, yeah, you see a circle, you see, but look it up there, you actually kind of see an edge, you see a fading away. So it's trying to average everything out. The nice thing about the clone stamp, which is over here, I get my appropriate brush size, all right?
How are you enlarging the size?
So one way to do it is through the brush menu up here. The other way to do it, the way I do it quickly, is the bracket key. The right bracket to go big, the left bracket to go small. All right? Now that only adjusts the size. It doesn't adjust the hardness of the brush. All right? I think that's shift bracket for the hardness. Let's see. Yeah, that's shift. So I'll option click here. Actually, let me make a blank layer because I'm going to end up bleeding over into the white border, and I'm going to show you that. So I'll option click, let's say, somewhere in the trees that are similar to these trees. I'm going to try up here. Option click. Now I'm going to paint. Ooh. Did I do? I got to change. Okay, I'll go to my here's the tricky thing. You didn't see anything happen simply because up here in the options bar, when I chose the clone stamp tool, it said current layer. I just made a new blank layer. So it's trying to clone stamp blankness into blankness. So I'm going to tell it, I want you to look at all the layers, copy what's there, and then stamp it where I want it to be. So it's current and below. So let's try that. So I Alt Option click here, and I'm just gonna paint it here and here. Okay, maybe here and here. Now, coming down here. Now, look at this. I'm gonna turn that off. I'm going to turn off that new layer I just made. Not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. I can go back down here. Let me try down here so I can build something up. See, I have much more control. Much more control. Option click somewhere else to vary it up, and somewhere else. Now turn it off, turn it on. Okay, it's close. I could still do more, but for the sake of time, I really don't want to spend too much on that. Now what I'm going to do, as you see, I have some of my stamped trees up in that white border. So get the handy eraser tool over here in your toolbox and get an appropriately sized brush and just erase that. Now we got our border back. Okay? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. While you talk, I'm going to be cleaning this up, okay?
Okay, so you're erasing that one, and it's going to erase in the color that that side is, because sometimes it's not white. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, see, this is where the layers come in handy. I had a blank layer. All that was on that layer was the little trees that I had copied. So I wasn't erasing to any background color or any transparent. You understand?
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about working with layers, is you have control over what parts happen to what. And if I did erase it, yes, you would see what's underneath it show up. And in this case, it was just the original background. But if there was something else there, that would show up and you'd be like, what? I have a mess under here.
Because
So
you put that extra layer, that blank layer on top, because you knew you were going to go over a little bit, and you could clean it up then perfectly later.
yes, exactly, exactly. All right, so again, we're just going over right now quick spotting. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to spend too much on this. I want to show you a couple more things. So this will be our spotting example and our big example. There's nothing else really. There's these lines in here. I think I want to work on something like that for another one. Well, I love how they dress. Oh, boy. I hate to say the good old day. I just don't like, what's the good old days? You know, be happy that, but people dress so much nicer in photo. Now they're wearing t-shirts and shorts and their underwear or nothing. And it's like, God, this is a family reunion. But anyways, so there you go. There's our great spotting example. I want to jump to another one because I know you all bring your pictures and you kind of want to see, you know, your picture up there too. So I want to work with this one here. You're going to see this. This is a discolorization. Now, like I said, I do like to work on an entire picture from beginning to end, but I do like, again, I want to get different samples with different problems and then try to plow through as much as I can without overwhelming you. I will scan this one. Any questions while I'm scanning? Or is there something I didn't answer? Sometimes I get ahead of myself.
You're doing preview just to see how it's going to look, and then when you really scan it.
Yeah, every scanner has a overview preview button. And yeah, you should do that because then you don't have to waste time while it scans the entire bed. But I like to scan a little bit outside of the area just so I can make sure I have everything. I can crop it out in Photoshop.
Is the yellow on this picture caused from Scotch tape or something like that, or it's stuck to the glass?
The yellow is blame it on the glass. Is it plastic? You said glass, so glass. It's not plastic. Yeah. Yeah, something moisture, and then it reacts. And the yellow sometimes could be fixer, you know, from the chemistry process from the darkroom, which gentleman over here knows plenty about fixer.
You gotta clean it really well.
Yeah.
Sometimes the fixture, somebody tries to do a real quick process, the fixture doesn't all come out.
Yeah.
They can stay there for years.
And I see it, you know, I see it all the time. So let's open up this one. Ah, not in there. All right, I'm gonna drag this, open it, Photoshop. All right, so now I'm gonna include a step that we didn't talk about because it's just, like I said, I wanna put as much as I can. I got the crop tool here. So right over here, now I'm gonna crop because I have all this white space, right? We scanned all that extra white space, but now because I'm in Photoshop, I know I can be more precise with my crop. So I set my crop boundaries. Would I leave the border? In this case, the border is so shot, no. I'd crop it out, and I'll ask the customer, do you want a border? And I always ask them, do you want a border? Because you can put a mat over it without cutting into the image area. You know, and we could do the mat, we could do that border later. Let's talk about this discolor. Now I showed you the cracks. How would we deal with the cracks? Combination of clone stamp, healing brush, right? And possibly working with different layers, okay? So let's just say we did that now. What do we do about this awful discolorization here, all right? Anybody have a suggestion?
You're on a different layer, can you do any erasing?
If I was on a different layer and I did some erasing, I don't think it would do anything except frustrate me. So I'm gonna try it this way. Yes?
I was just gonna say, can you paint over it?
You can paint over it, yeah, that's one way. So let's make a duplicate background layer like we did before. I can get a paintbrush tool right here. All right, and I have to change the mode. Are you aware of color mode? Okay, so I'd have to change the mode to color. Come on. Then I use the Alt-Option key to sample the color. I say eyedropper, I like this color. Boom, I click it, and I paint over it. Now the neat thing about this is the color's gone, right? In fact, let me just make a bigger brush and I'll just go over the whole thing. In fact, to make it even quicker, now that I chose the right kind of color, I go to Edit, Fill. This is not in your handout. This is an intermediate to advanced technique. But since she said paintbrush, I want to help her out a little bit so she doesn't fall asleep, because she might be a little ahead of others. I have to use my, I can choose that, I'll say foreground color because that's what I have. And again, I got to make sure that mode is color. And then I hit OK. Boom, gone. Okay, so let's zoom out so you all can, before, after. Now the only thing that bothers me, and maybe it bothers you, is what?
Well, the texture or the
You can see
where it was.
okay, which is luminosity based. That means it's not as luminescent as the rest of the area that didn't have the destruction on it, okay? So that's where I'm gonna turn this off. I'm not stopping it. I'm not gonna delete that layer because I wanna be able to look back on it. And let me save this. I broke my rule and I didn't save.
She looks like she needs a facial.
I'm not saying nothing.
Well, that would be one way of cleaning it up.
I'll give her some makeup. Here's another way to do it. Image, adjustment. Now in Elements, it's might be under a different menu name, but it's there, trust me. Hue and saturation. And what I want to do here is just pull this saturation slider out. Again, I'm just showing you options. This is clearly worse than this, okay? But it's one way to do it. And there's one more way that I want to show you. Let me make another copy, duplicate layer. I've turned off those last two, okay, by hitting the little eyeball in the box. This in Photoshop, I think it was CS3 and up. It's been quite a few upgrades. They have something called black and white. This is kind of neat. As you see, that looks horrible. But I can take my sampler, my eyedropper, outside of this window and click on the terrible part now and move along. I mean, this is fantastic. And I can go extreme and it goes in the other way. But what it's doing is it's reading the yellow and it's adjusting only the yellow for black and white. I just love black and white. I use this a lot. And now you can see why. So let's compare, okay? So here's the latest with the black and white adjustment. Here's just the hue and saturation adjustment, the old school way. And here was an improved way to do it. But clearly, this one's the winner. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where was that black and white?
Under
Image, adjustments, under vibrance, hue, saturation, okay? There it is. Now again, if there's something that you missed and you're at home and like, I don't see it. What? It's not working. Feel free to give me a call. Give me an email. Email me. You know, I may not get back to you right away, but give me a couple days. You know, sometimes things are crazy for me. But also join my email newsletter, because every month I've got little articles about things like this, and you'll find it handy. You know, and it only comes once a month, and I don't give out your info. So this was that example. Yes?
So remind me, why didn't you, let's say, make a blank layer over everything and work on it like you did with the previous photo?
So, smart guy, why didn't you make a new blank layer? Well, good question. Simply put, everything that, with the exception of the brush technique, could be done on a new blank layer, but the layer would have to be color mode. Another thing that's kind of like, what did he say? Don't worry about it. Because simply put, everything that I did, the hue and saturation, the black and white, these were functions that I was applying to a layer. These were not, it was not a tool, it was not a paintbrush, it was not a clone stamp. I was not doing something with something, right? I was actually, how could you say, it's a matter of, what's that?
Adjusting it?
It's an adjustment. All the adjustments are, you can do the adjustments in a layer, but it's called an adjustment layer. And I'm reluctant to teach that, especially to beginners.
Sure. But you did do some brushing in the very beginning, right, to change the color, even though the texture was...
Yeah, we brushed on the layer.
Yeah, okay.
The background copy layer, not on a blank layer, which could be done on a blank layer, but we'd have to change it. Yeah. Okay, so let's go. God, time flies. How much time do we have?
They didn't say.
What? I forgot.
Well, we close at 10, but I wouldn't suggest like that.
No. But we agree. What did we plan?
The class was 7 to 9.
7 to 9.
Oh, is it?
Okay. Phew. And I'm thinking 8 o'clock. Oh, I don't know why I was thinking 8. That's fine. It's great. I'm happy. Phew. Okay. Hold on. Let me catch my breath. Okay. All right. This is good. This is good actually, because I'm glad this is, it's usually an overwhelmingly large group. And so here is one with this from the same person, but it's yellow all over and it's dark. It's a very beautiful print. And the silver is coming out of the emulsion. It's kind of shiny. But I would apply the same principle, okay? I would do what we did with this to get rid of the yellow. I would do the same with this to just make it black and white. That's the key. Make it black and white. Now, once I make it black and white, from here, let me turn these off. I repaired the flaws, right? And on the last stage, I say correct the overall color. All right? And you might say, well, this is a black and white. What color are you talking about? It's color. It's black and white. So these are colors. And there's gray. And there's shades of gray. So these are all colors, and they all have to be accounted for. And they all fit within a canister known as contrast. And if you have a white and a black, and you have gray in the right proportion, you have good contrast. So that's what we want for our pictures. Well, I'm just going to tell you, every photo needs color correction. I'm a photo retoucher. But I know, I see photos and I say, well, obviously they didn't fix the contrast on that. If you fix the contrast first, then you can fix the overall colors, such as skin tones, such as neutral areas. So, anyways, let's adjust this. In all of my beginner level, I teach, anyone use levels in Photoshop to adjust color?
I do.
You do? Okay, excellent. Anyone else use anything else to adjust color that they can think of?
I've never used it.
You've never used it, okay. So today is something new for you.
Although I understand grayscale.
Excellent. Oh, by the way, what did I scan this as? Do you remember? Was it grayscale or color?
Color.
Good. Anyone know why? We'll see you in 2 weeks. Tell you why then. But it'll be answered now. Let's go to image. Let's see. We got our copy. Image adjustment levels. All right. This is black and white. All right. So all I do is take my black slider, move it to the edge of the mountain, move my white slider to the edge of the mountain, and I hit OK. So look at this. Before, after. Before, after. It's our projector and projectors and projector screens don't do it justice. But I guarantee you it looks crisper and cleaner, and they almost pop out. They actually look human. They look real on my screen, okay? And you do that thing that I just did, you'll be set. In my course, I take you through a whole thing of doing that, and by the time you're done with it, you're like, wow, you'll have even more control, especially for color images. Okay, so let's save this. Oh, I took it out. All right, and we do have color here, so we'll be getting to that. Oh, good, good, good. All right. So here we have a wonderful postcard from, anyone know the year?
That's probably in the 1905 to 1917, 18 period.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
Okay. Was this the one that was colorized? No. There was one that had a little bit of tinting. Was it? Maybe it wasn't yours. That was yours. Okay.
The Army one,
Sorry.
right? Is that the one you meant?
Your last name?
Sam.
Sam, yeah.
It was the Army one.
It's here. This is it. Yeah. Oh, okay. Different person too, right? These are two different people, right? Yeah. Okay, good. I got it. I got it.
World War I.
World War One. Great. Okay. Wow. So we're gonna scan. This one is neat because this one has. I'm gonna close these. This one has this hand tinting. It's really cool. You know, my grandfather was a really good photographer, and I never met him. He died when my mother was young, was a child. But he would take the photos, and my grandmother, his wife, would tint them. You know, really beautiful. So that's something we want to try to restore and keep in this one. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and kind of keep what's around there, even though a lot of that border's been ripped off. It looks like it had a frame glued to it, a little thing, and it was ripped. Kind of, somebody wanted to see what was under there, maybe a hidden lotto number or something.
They had, I think, those cardboard frames.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took it off.
Yeah, someone took it off.
Yeah, they tore it off.
Yeah.
Stinks. I wish it was still there because those things were printed and they're from that era. That gives it a lot of flavor.
Those cardboard frames that were money.
Yeah.
That was one of those. Wow. Especially if they got a well-known photographer.
Good, I scanned it. Okay, it's so small. All right, so let's open this one up. Am I? Wait a minute. Oh shoot, my watch is off. Okay. Yeah, I haven't changed this thing since daylight saving time. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock, right? Okay. Jeez. You should have seen me when I went to Ohio last year. And you know the time changed, you know? You know, like the clock in the hotel is 15 minutes till I do my workshop. Oh, it was awful. That was my first time at the National Genealogical Society too. What a terrible first impression. But I pulled it off. Let's do that little crop. Is anyone going to the Federation of Genealogical Societies conference in Fort Wayne in August? No? Okay. I will be there. But okay, so let's look at this. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it. Shoot. Okay. Anyways, it's got this coloring to it. So what I'm going to do is I want to enhance that color. So I made, of course, a copy of the background layer. And let's make our working version. And go to Image, Adjust, Hue and Saturation. Now, what's nice about this is I can tell it to increase the saturation of particular colors. I don't have to do the whole thing, but I could do the whole thing. So let me show you what happens if I increase the saturation of all the colors. So that's a little much. So let's go one at a time. Let's go to reds. Can you see that? In his lips, see?
On his lips, yeah.
In his cheeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go, there's blue in there too that I can see. It might be in cyan. No. All right.
His eyes changed though.
His, yeah, a little bit. Okay, so here we have that. So in this case, I'm gonna fix the contrast. So let's go to levels again. Now because it's color, we actually have to go through, because this is a this is not a black and white image. I didn't make it black and white with the black and white adjustment or HueSaturation. I actually have different levels of red, green, and blue in here that I have to adjust separately. So I click and hold the channel drop-down menu. By default, it's the composite of RGB. But I'm actually going to go to red. Move the red, black, and the red highlight. The black slider right here simply means shadows, and the white one simply means highlights. And of course, the gray one means midtones. And we don't need to mess with that right now. Always set your get your contrast right first. Get your endpoints. That's green. And that's blue. It's really cleaned up nice. So before, after. Okay? Now here's the original layer. Here's our restored layer. Yeah, you still can't see the blue. So what I want to do is we really need to work on that color, especially that blue. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to try greens, see if that helps. No. Let's go to cyan, crank it up. Blue, crank it up. It's not doing anything. I don't even see, I don't think it's even changing the eyes. I just don't see it. There's blue in the background. So what do you think we should do? Remember before we used the, well, I won't say it, but let's see if you all remember, huh? Clone stamp? No. Now I'm talking just for color. Don't use clone stamp. No, never use clone stamp for color. Like to change color. I've seen beginners do that. Don't do that. That'll get you'll get just frustrated. Anybody else? This is, you know, a little advanced. I'm getting into. Remember we used. It's a tool that we recently used. Paintbrush. Think about it. Remember I said my grandmother, and what did she use? She used some pencils, but she used brush. So get a paintbrush. Just think, you know, think real art. Not digital madness. So let's go to the paintbrush tool. And I like the blue that's in here in the border that was ripped. Look at that. I want to show you something. See those patterns? That was offset printed. So the photographer ordered a bunch of frames that were printed, and then he attached them to the prints. Don't you wish we still had that to see the whole frame, what it looked like, what it said, you know? Well, anyways, let me do a Alt-Option click to sample that blue color. It's kind of like a bluish green. So I will actually go in here, this thing called the color. Now I'll just move this slider over just to make it a little more blue. And now we're going to do some art. I'm going to do some.
What makes a good scan?
What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly.
Some watercolor. Just to be safe, I'm going to make another copy of my background layer. This is going to be a copy of the background copy. New, duplicate. And I have my brush, and I'm just gonna, you know, paint here and here. No, I don't like that. Oh, you can't even see it. I shouldn't even waste time doing it. Anyways, that's what you could do. Now, what I'm going to do is I got to do something you can see. You can see that. Okay, good. So these streaks are simulating what's behind him. Good. So I did this in a blank layer. I just took my paintbrush, regular mode, and painted in here the blue streaks. To simulate, in the background there, it actually kind of looks like a little cloud background. It's very subtle. So to simulate that, I need to blur these. Okay? Let me zoom out with motion blur. So hopefully yeah. Let me try turning it a little bit too. All right, hit OK. Now, up here in the layer palette, something called opacity. That means I can thin out this layer so it's not so prominent. So what you see on screen is probably what would have been there originally or close to it. So I'm trying to put that back into that. Okay? So it's a nice compromise because I'm having trouble bringing out the original. And that's the problem with colorized, that's the problem with images that have faded color or all faded color or some faded color is sometimes you can't bring it back with hue and saturation and levels. There's nothing you can do to really get it back through commands. You actually have to do some fine art, you know, and that's where things such as painting and coloring on real paper with real media would be helpful. And it's actually fun. I mean, drawing and painting is a lot of fun for me. So anyways, there's something. Okay, so here we go, just to show you. Here's before, and here's after. Okay, you see a little difference, right? Any questions? You're not gonna walk out on me, are you? I'm not overwhelming you. Oh, good. I may be able to do something for everybody tonight. Okay, so let's go to this one. I want to show you. This is a little square picture, and what I like about this one is this belongs to Miss Bloom. What I like about this one. Wake up. Not you, I'm talking to the scanner. Just don't snore, please. What I like about this one, it has lots of detail, even though it's small. So, oops, I made 2 boxes. All right, I'll scan that. And this is number 4. So I'm gonna write number 4. Now, you can restore a lot of pictures. It just takes practice. You know, put on some good music to get yourself motivated, especially if it looks hard or mundane. That's the big thing about restorations is you have a lot of stuff you just got to keep working on. So let's adjust this. Again, we'll take the crop tool. It will rotate. and get right to the edges. And I like this one. We can go ahead and fix that crack too. I'd like to do that. All right, so again, following the rules, we duplicate the background layer, save as R1, PSD, maximize. All right, so what we'll do is we'll go through here, and there is a nice crease right here. So the crease can be attacked with the healing brush or the clone stamp. I'm going to try the healing brush right now. Nice thing about healing brush, you can actually brush with it. But see, look at that artifact that showed up, that black spot. It didn't read that well. So, you know, sometimes I just say, healing brush, this is not your day. So I just go in with I get the old trusted clone stamp tool. Now, clone stamp tool, the key to success is to sample from different areas. If you just Alt Option click and then do this, you end up with artifacts. I'm sorry, footprinting. You see what's happening? It's just kind of moving itself. It's like, what's going on here? You don't want that. You don't want your picture to look like it was worked on. That's the important thing. You know, good photo retouching, you can't tell. You can't tell that it's been retouched. That's a tree. Don't retouch that tree away. Oops, I just made the tree a little smaller. So sometimes you gotta undo. And the neat thing about Photoshop and Photoshop Elements, they have something called the history palette or history panel. You go here and you can actually go backward to whatever you set it for. Now, keep in mind, once you close the picture, all that history disappears, okay? So don't close the picture if you think you still need to access that history palette. All right, now there is something I'd like to add right now, and that is you can go through a picture and clean up. In fact, I'm going to do that on this one because we got time, and I want to finish this one because this one is also typical. I like to put. Sometimes you can end up working on one part of that picture, and you miss some other part. You're like, oh my goodness, look at that big crease, or oh, there's another spot. Oh my goodness, it's just so, and you keep finding this stuff. So what I like to do is I go to what's called the grid. Okay, so I go to View, Show, Grid. And what this does is it puts squares, it puts a grid over my image. Can you see that? Okay, I'm going to change the color of that grid through Preferences. Photoshop, Preferences, Guide, Grid, and Slice. I want to change the color from gray to red. Hit OK. There, now it's nice visible grid for me to see. Now this looks like, damn, there's no way this, oh, that's a bird's nest. Yeah, but it's yellow. This is a black and white. That's not a bird's nest. Get out of there. Okay, here's some missing chipped emotion. This thing looks like something that was there, possibly a birdhouse. I'm leaving it. Unless the customer says, get rid of it. I'm leaving it. You don't want to change history. Be responsible with this stuff. I'm sure you've read articles and seen pictures of stuff people have changed. I don't know if y'all remember that when that terrible 9/11 attacks, and someone took a picture of himself on top of the World Trade Center, you know, in the observation area, and then he put an airplane coming into it behind him, and it went viral on the internet, you know, and then everyone was putting this same guy in front of the plane coming in, you know, but even something like that is irresponsible because someone could say, oh, wow, look at that. You know, he was there and he sent the picture or something. So we really want to be responsible with this stuff. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to fix that gap in a minute, but let's just go through real quick. See, this is where it gets really boring. So if you have any questions, I want you to ask. Because I want to go through here. Now here, on an area like this, if you use the clone stamp, it can be tricky. Because you might change the shading. I didn't change the shading because I did it right. But that's where healing brush might come in handy. Because when you have subtle areas like the curve of an arm, healing brush is really nice. Healing brush does not do good on hard edges. Look at that. Watch what happens when I go here. Watch how it picks up the edge and it makes it kind of brown. Didn't do it so much. But look at that. There's some ghosting there. So in this case, healing brush comes in. Clone stamp is much better tool to use. Any questions? Just blurt it because I'm looking at the screen. I won't be able to call on you. Okay, so let's look at her lip here. I think this is a spot on the lip. I do not think that her face is too much in the shadows. The lower part of her face is too much. Who is this, by the way?
It's me.
It's you!
Obviously an old picture.
Where were you when this picture was made?
Someplace in Florida. My father was stationed in Pensacola, Florida, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like you.
Yeah, it's just cute.
It's a few years ago. That's all.
Yeah, about 60.
Yeah. So here's, you know, little scratches here. By the way, if you see I'm working on your picture, if you want it, just send me an email and I'll email it to you. I won't charge you. Not yet. No, just kidding. I'm not going to charge you. Unless you say, God, you really ruined that thing. I don't want it. I could do better. Okay, so we're still in this grid. I need to make my grid a little. I'm going to adjust my grid because I think it's too big. The grid should be in the monitor space. So let's make that adjustment real quick. So let's do a grid line subdivision. No, let's do a grid line every ½ inch. There. That's more manageable for me. Because you don't want to be moving around too much again, because you miss stuff and it gets frustrating. So I'm just moving along. Everything's looking good, right? Let me know if you see Waldo. We'll worry about those discolorizations later. I want to clean up. I think that is damage.
You're using the eraser?
I'm using the clone stamp tool right now. I am alternating like a madman at 10,000 miles per hour between healing brush and clone stamp. I'm wondering if that's dirt on your leg. I know you're like, what do you care? But seriously, I don't want to change history. You say, I remember that scar. I still have that dirt on my knee from.
Yeah, there you go.
I kept it for safekeeping. You know? I mean, you know, moles on faces. I mean, you got to be careful. All right, here's a nice little crease. Good, we're doing good, right? Yeah. Boy, I got to change my watch. As you see, I spend a lot of time at home where I don't go out to wear my fancy watch. Yeah, that's. I'm going to Sweden in the summer. Oh my God. I got 6 hours, I think.
You can actually get watches that have 3 different time zones on them.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so this crease is done. Good. Okay, now let's see what separates the adults from the children, depending on how much more they know than the adults. Okay, so what we want to do is bring in these trees, right? So where is that piece that fell off? Do you have it?
No.
Okay, so we don't have it. That means we have to do what? Just leave it, right? Oh, we could just do this, right? Here. Here's your tree. No? Okay. All right. You're like, no, I don't think so. And you're all looking at Jill Durkitz of the Elk Grove Public Library saying, why did you bring this fella out? Okay, so here we have the clone stamp tool. I want to try to build up some of these trees a little bit. Let's make a new blank layer, because I really want to mix it up. The problem with just copying and pasting things from anywhere is you give it away. So I want to randomize a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit from here and put a little there, a little background here, a little background there, take it from here. That's not working. Right. Be respectful of shadow. Be respectful of element of focus. Be respectful of angles. Because if you're not, anybody will be able to tell something wrong with that picture.
Kind of like the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
Something wrong with it.
Indeed. So now I'm going to take a big spot here. All right. And I will grab what's called the lasso tool up there. And I'm going to take actually this whole area and outline it like this. And you'll see these marching ants. Next, I will go into select, modify, feather. And I will put a radius of, I think 5 is enough. Now what this is, you're like, what? This is taking the edge and making it soft. And I will show you how that edge looks. Because everything inside the marching ants is going to be copied like a Microsoft Word text. I'm going to copy, edit copy, and edit paste. And then move it in. Now, oops, I didn't copy it right, sorry. Click on background copy, layer. Because there's nothing to copy in layer 1. There's nothing over there, it's blank. See, let me show you real quick. See that layer 1? You can't copy anything in there. Only thing is there are those little bits of trees I made. I used with the clone stamp. So here's where I want to copy from. Is background copy. So I go to edit copy, edit paste, and go up here, grab the move tool. And I'm going to move that layer. Now the problem with this is the edges, if you look, let me just move this up. See the edge? It's soft. I like that at 5 pixels. But if I did not do the feather, it would have been a hard edge. Been a dead giveaway. It would have been much harder to work with. All right? So here, I take the move tool and I go like this. And what I do is I just, play around with it a little bit. And I have something here. Now, there's a hard edge here because that came from the side of the photo, okay? From that corner. No problem. Grab the eraser tool and just kind of erase that away, that hard edge. Now, only problem is we have this soft area here. So, we can't have that. Can go out here like that. Excuse me. Okay.
What about that one tree that looks like it's
crooked? It's kind of crooked, yeah. So let's see if we could actually rotate that new thing a little bit, that new part of the trees that I just made. All right. So I go to edit, edit, free transform. Let me zoom out. And what I want to do, bring my cursor, my pointer out here and turn just a little bit. And then I go in here and move it and hit return. Okay, now this tree is straight. This looks weird over here. All right, yeah. But we don't even need it. So get the eraser. How do I know we don't need it? I turn this off and on. There's trees there. There's real trees there. I mean, someone may say, hey, what happened to that tree? I remember that tree 60 years ago. You know, where is it? Oh, so you have to erase that, okay? No problem. Again, we don't want to cover up what's real, okay? But in this case, let's see, let me move this here. So here we go. Let's look at, and let's critique. All right. So here's before. Here's after. So what do you think? What do you think? Don't be. I'm saying critique. So I mean, I see a problem. I want to see if you see a problem.
Identical almost.
Well,
Parallel trees.
yeah. Look at this tree area and this tree. They look identical. That's a no-no. Okay. So what I have to do, I have to mix that up. And one thing I might do in this case, and this is purely subjective. This is not a rule. I'm gonna make a new blank layer and use a clone stamp tool, and I'm just gonna get rid of that one. And get rid of this part too. I don't want that. Okay? Real rough and cut. And I'm going to see how that looks. I'm spending a lot of time on this, I know. But, you know, if it's your picture, I mean, you should look to that as inspiration to take your time. Okay, so let's look now. Now, this tree over here and this tree do look alike. Okay? So one thing I can do, let me turn this off. Good. So one thing I can do is get rid of it from here. I don't want to get rid of it because that's the original tree there. Yeah, this one's tough because now
it looks like the trunk is too tall.
Yep.
You need to shorten the tree and put some
Yep.
foliage on the top.
Yep. You got to have some foliage up there because it's not looking right. Because look, it's supposed to end up here. This one keeps going. Okay, so that one won't work. So in this case, let's take the lasso again, and we're going to select. Let's select this area here. All right, and let's feather it. Soften the edge. I'll feather it less. See if my camera is going to run out. Okay, and this time we got to do edit, copy, merge. That means it's not going to copy just the layer, it's going to copy all the layers. Because now as you see in my layer palette, I got all kinds of tree layers in there. I don't know what I'm going to copy. So I need to know what I'm copying. I want to copy everything within that thing, within that lasso, within that marching ants. Copy, merged. And edit, paste. All right. Now, let's go to edit, transform, flip horizontal. This is going to take what I just pasted and flip it. Now it doesn't look exactly like what's over there. I'm trying to make something happen. And sometimes you gotta, you know, you really gotta push it. So let's bring this, I need to close some of these panels because I'm starting to get a lot of layers now.
Can you just take the top of that trunk off? Look at the top of the picture?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing. Let me close this. Why? Okay, Eric. You know, at home, I've got 2 monitors and all the palettes are on one side. I don't close things. So I'm out of practice. But anyways, all right, so I'm switching to the original and where we're at now. So the trunk at the top, we definitely got to go. It's definitely got to go. Because I think we can get away with some sky. You know, the eye is generally attracted to the brightest spot in the image, but, you know, again, this is subjective and we're going to compromise a little bit. Now here we have some softness that we're going to have to try to adjust. We're going to have to try to work with, because that's what happened when I copied it when I did my lasso. But let's zoom out now. All right, so here we are overall. So here's how it used to be. Here's how it is. What do you think? Any other critique? It's getting cool in here. I'm feeling a little like I'm not sweating so much. Thank you.
Although I see, and this is more my perfectionism comes with
Sure.
look at pictures. But again, on that same tree, I still think we need to balance a little more this way. To the right.
I think those trees on the edge are almost a little bit too identical to what's happening in the other open area, the sky area.
Yeah. Yep. I see like a nest, like it's like a squirrel nest up here and a squirrel nest up here. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. Let's make another new blank layer. Because I just like to have control over this stuff. Let's try to go like, let's go here. Let's borrow something from here. There's no sense making things from scratch when you can just borrow them from different areas of the image. I want to try this. Okay, let's just see what happens. And the whole principle is what? We don't want it to look retouched. And that's what you all have been pointing out. You're saying, it's good, but ooh, look at that hard edge. Yep. Forgot to feather. So feather. There. Copy merged. I'm doing keyboard shortcuts just for speed. I don't teach keyboard shortcuts because there's so many ways, so many people can find that on the internet. It's like, to me, it just makes people dizzy. It's like telling them, speaking a different language sometimes.
I would have kept it down.
You would have kept it down?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the, I wanted to get rid of that nest though. Oops. What do you think? You liked it. You go along with that.
Looks like the state of Florida.
Oh, now you're really making me nuts.
Well, it was taken in Florida, that's why. I think that's an artistic
I'll never
license
finish this.
Do you see an
See, now she
elevator?
says there's Florida in there. Let me get rid of it.
Looks good to me.
Sir? What do you think?
I still, that area where you just put that last section in,
Yeah.
the lower part of that, where it's kind of rounded there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it looks
Yep.
like,
It still look here.
it kind of pulls
In
the
here.
eye right into that corner.
Yep. Yep. And it's the same tree. Yeah. So let's try adding to it. Let's try building up that tree. In fact, I'm tired of copying stuff. Like let's try to. Oops. We want to change it up. And
How about building up that other end?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, on the
other
Gulf
side.
side, on the Gulf
Yeah,
side.
around the
left.
this one?
Yeah.
Oh, that.
See, that's angling.
Yeah,
that
you
way.
think
It
so?
should be a little more ragged, so it looks
Yeah,
more
let's-
natural.
It looks too it looks too trim.
Yeah.
Like they hired a landscaper.
Well, it looks like it was wind blowing, but the rest of the trees weren't affected by
And
it.
it looks like the
The hurricane hit the
Yep.
one tree.
left side of the tree is half missing.
I knew that. I was just testing
Sure,
you.
yeah, that's fine.
No, I didn't know that. But I that's why I have you here.
Aren't you glad we
It
came?
would be up-
Yes. I have to write y'all a check, so we're gonna have to end soon.
It's
And
at the tip of that tree that gets to go.
yeah.
towards that part of
So
the-
so what should we do? How do we unfake this tree?
Well, can you lasso the top and flip it?
Well, why don't you-
Lasso the top of this tree,
Yeah,
I think make it
the
more
very
jagged.
top part,
lasso this,
yeah, and flip it.
and flip it.
Or
Alright.
just build it up a little bit,
Yeah.
Let's try it.
so it fills up some of that whiter.
Yeah, where that-
Build
All right.
it.
All right, let's try it. So I'm gonna take a big chunk here, okay, and we'll feather that. Okay, copy merged, paste. Okay, now we're going to. We can. Well, let's see. I'm just seeing if
Actually, like the first thing you did.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
back.
you like that better. Huh?
That
Okay.
looks like it's got a face.
It's like, what are you doing? Now he's got the shroud of Turin and Florida and everything.
Is there any algae?
Shroud is the air.
Let's go. Oops. What about this?
That's not bad.
Yeah, I like
There you
it.
go.
Yeah, that's good.
But I don't know, that bothers me. Doesn't that bother you?
A little bit.
So then let's do this. What'd you say?
There's nothing to support that.
Yeah.
Just crop off about the,
Okay,
Just
that's good.
here. I'm gonna tell you what you could do with your tree, Eric. Here. There we go. Who cares about the trees?
No, I like that.
I like the trees. Without these things, we'd be in a desert right now.
There's just maybe, it's just
Yeah,
a minor thing, you
yeah.
don't have to do it if you have other things.
I will do it.
So on the girl's actual left shoulder, if you go a little bit, away from that left shoulder, the open space, you'll see there's a line still kind of going from her shoulder on a well,
I see you.
that original line is kind of going at a diagonal on the left side of her body. If you go over a little bit more,
There's a
I'm doing
long-
this.
there's a long blade of
right there. Now
grass.
go straight down. Kind of, you see there's. If you go to the original, look at the original, and you'll maybe see
Okay.
it better. See that crack,
Yep.
sort of vertical,
It goes-
slanted crack. That's
Yep.
still, some of it's
Oh,
still.
so
sort
then
of
it goes
there.
into the shoulder, I see it there.
Some of it's still.
Yeah.
The shoulder part, it's.
Yep.
But anyway, it's a minor thing. But
Yeah, but it should be addressed.